Lord, we're meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirits of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll go to item number 2, be approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
There were a couple of typos on it. Will those be corrected?
Yes, ma'am. If we call them out, we'll make a note.
Okay, on the, I'm sorry, not on the agenda.
On to the minutes,
I
okay?
apologize.
We have a Manger motion. Who is our second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll go into item 3, citizen comments. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Okay, thank you, sir. Item 4 will be approval of the minutes. 4.1, April 11th, 2017 workshop minutes.
There's a typo on page 2 at the bottom. That should be Owen, nickel and dime setback.
Thanks, Chad. Entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 4.2, April 11, 2017 regular meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Again, a couple of typos on item 6.1. Carol made motion to accept. It should be accept, A-C-C-E-P-T. And on 8.7, Mr. Mitchell cannot both make the motion and second it.
We'll check that video and make sure we get that second change there. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move into item 5, recommendations. Item 5.1, discuss and/or take action of rezoning on preliminary master development plan for Rochdale Estates off Cumberland Drive from RS40 to R20 PUD overlay residential, map 47, parcel 66, 33.81 acres, landdevelopment.com, Inc. owner. Mr. Hall, do you have any additional discussion on these, or these are just going through the motions and the recommendations?
These are the recommendations that went through the board commission.
So no action needed. Item 5.2, discuss and or take action on annexation requests for Otter Creek subdivision off Old Nashville Road, map 42, parcel 78 of 87.71 acres, parcel 78.01 of 15 acres, parcel 79 of 13 acres, and parcel 79.01 of 16.04 acres. Owners Rita Kidder and Jennifer Buford. And then one last item on 5 will be 5.3, discuss and or take action on annexation requests for Otter Creek subdivision off of Taylor Road, map 42, portion of parcel 77.08 of .60 acres, owner Kenny Taylor. And we'll go into item 6, be bonds.
Hang on one second. Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are those listed? They used to not be, and ever since I've been on here, they've been listed, and I just don't know why they're listed, because it's confusing to the citizens.
That was several years ago, but as of right now, Mr. Collins wants to remove this from the agenda from here on future. So these won't be coming to you anymore.
Okay.
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 You guys had that same discussion Thursday night, right? Similar items.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
It's very confusing.
Yeah, it's
No action needed,
confusing.
we're just reading it. Okay. We'll move
Yeah,
into.
you're right. I'm sorry.
We'll move into bonds. Item 6.1, Deer Valley Downs subdivision, letter of credit in the amount of $464,000 for improvements, including roads, sidewalks, drainage, and other improvements specified by the approved plans. Planning Commission set the bond on November 10th, 2014. Planning Commission reduced the bond on August 9th, 2016 to $225,000. Bond expires May 21st, 2017.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
let the record show that the owner of the Deer Valley Dams is here. He
Okay.
plans on renewing the bond, but tonight y'all need to get permission to call it just in the event that he doesn't.
Okay.
I make a motion to call the bond if it is not renewed by May 21st, 2017.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving to item 7, old business. There is none tonight. New business, item 8. First, 8.1, discuss and or take action on Subway Retail Center, site plan map 18, parcel 18 and 19, 2.16 acres. Mr. Bartel, owner. Mr. Biot, if I could get you to read the staff comments.
Yes, sir. Staff comments for item 8.1. Number 1, any site plan approvals must be contingent upon a combination plat being submitted to and approved by the city, combining the two subject parcels shown on the site plan. No building permits are to be issued until approved plat is recorded at the county registrar's office. Number 2, water and sewer service lines to the building should be shown on the plans. Number 3, the sign detail on sheet C6 is illegible. Please replace as necessary. Additionally, per section 2-108 of the Design Review Manual, signs are to be fully surrounded by brick or stone and complemented with landscaping. Lastly, the signs should not be located inside the sanitary sewer easement and must be a minimum of 10 feet off the front property boundary. Number 4, the proposed building elevations do not appear to meet the minimum 70% brick criteria outlined in section 2-104 of the Design Review Manual. Please include the material percentages for each elevation and revise plan accordingly to meet the 70% brick requirement. Window and door areas are not included in the percentage calculation. Number 5, please note that no overhead power lines are allowed inside the site boundaries. Number 6, parking calculations should be revised to reflect the addition of the third building unit. Location of additional parking areas should be shown on the plan and indicated as future. And number 7, a riprap apron is needed at the parking lot discharge location. That's all the comments.
Sir? We have a representative here? Could you
I'm
state-
Trent Smith with Southern Consulting and Engineering.
I'm sorry, sir, what was your name?
Trent
Trent
Smith.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith, could you just give us a little summary of what this project is and what you presented to us?
Well, right now, there's 2 units shown on the site plan. One is going to be a Subway. The second unit is unknown at this time. And we left an open area thinking that maybe at some point in the future there might be a third unit, which by saying that, I may have hurt ourselves by even mentioning that, but could be so many years off, it's hardly existing at this point, but we do have a spot we think we might be able to squeeze a third unit. The comments you read, I think several of those were kind of architectural comments, which I'm hoping you guys can approve the site plan contingent upon us revising those, which from our point of view, those are easy for us to fix, and we could easily submit those to staff for their review and concurrence. And the brick and so on and the sign, that's not a problem.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Has this gone to the tree board? Is this something with being commercial? we haven't, it will have to go. So we're probably gonna, have to add that to Will's recommendation that it's gonna have to be, or I guess it's Will's, maybe yours, I don't know. That it would have to be, yeah, they need to be approved by, the tree board, the landscaping.
Very back at 8/100, detention pond, is that plan on putting fence in that area off?
Yeah, we actually show fencing on 3 sides of it, on the property line, and in between the pond and the building, we have a fence as well. So it would be fully enclosed. And just kind of talking about the pond, we tried, our attempt, or our goal was to design that so that it would be, I don't know how to say this, kind of argue-proof, in that we reduced the discharge or our peak rate of discharge considerably, and we were very overly conservative with the amount of concrete when we did the design. Just, we didn't want the downstream neighbor to feel that we were overloading them. So we went the other way and underloaded them, so to speak.
We have 2 new faces sitting up here, and maybe I'll take the opportunity to introduce them. Mr. Kevin Chasteen is here, subbing for Will tonight. And then Ms. Kristen Costanzo or Costanzo? Okay, Costanzo is our new city planner. Do either of you guys have any comments to make towards us, or additional comments? A question for you guys, and maybe Mr. Hall as well, is some of these items that are from the staff comments that we're missing, would that be something that would be required on this site plan, on this submittal? And so if we receive something that's missing documents, and
I would say it's not necessarily missing documents, but I mean, there are things that were left off,
okay.
or I guess you could say incorrect as far as the percentage, 0% is for the facade.
So it's kind of hard to prove something without knowing the percentage.
And I certainly understand sometimes there's some things that we can improve with the variance of the staff submittal, but I think we just open ourselves up to miss things, and someone doesn't double check or review.
We're not asking for any variance. What we would hope to do is, if, hopefully get approval contingent upon sending the revised, I can see like the brick issue, the architect on the project prepared those elevation views, and I could resubmit those to staff showing what the correct, and if he didn't do it right, we would revise those to show at least meeting those minimum standards.
I have a question about the detention pond. Our current regulations require for commercial that it be a underground retention pond, I believe. So you're asking us to do a variance to do an above-ground detention pond instead.
Correct.
I know in the past we have done that, but typically it was behind the building and it couldn't be seen. Not really the case here. I see that it's fairly far, how far back would that start from the road?
I don't know the exact, but I mean, we consider that behind the buildings is relative to the road. And it's right, almost adjacent to the hotel's pond. It's as far, in fact, I mean, we pushed it back to that rear property line as far as we could go.
If it's something I'm gonna consider, I would request at least some kind of landscaping be in front of that, so it's not visible. Because it's really not behind the building, it's beside the building. So I would at least ask for some kind of landscaping, maybe a small berm, something so it's just not visible at all. Is that something y'all would consider?
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem.
Mr. Hall?
Mr. Hall, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Mr. Hall, I apologize, I can't hear you.
I will have that, just as a free board, and I'll let you know how to do that.
For the note number 6, parking calculations should be revised to reflect the addition of the third building. Do you think you're gonna have room for the additional parking spaces there?
Now I really regret putting that we might have a future building. I don't know that we have enough parking. There's the adjacent parcel that's being combined. That might be our next building site, because we're going to take advantage of some of the shared parking that you guys allow. There may be, we might be able to squeeze another smaller building in there and put in, calculations-wise on the pond, we could concrete the whole site. But whether we really have enough room to throw a lot of extra parking for that size building, I don't know off the top of my head. And if we don't, we just couldn't. What we believed was that when that time came, we would have to come back and make that presentation to you.
I was looking that, I'm still worried about the air condition. So I was looking for its placement to make sure, kind of old joke going on.
Do you know
Not
where
really a joke, but.
the placement of the HVAC units are gonna be?
I don't know. They may be rooftop, I have no idea.
The
That's
rooftop, you want
architectural and
parapet
I'm
walls?
civil, so I have no idea.
Well, we don't want them seen,
Okay.
even on the roof.
If there's any detail in there, I haven't seen it. If there is.
Yeah, I still kind of have a hard time. I'm good with doing a lot of this on contingents, but the percentage just is hard, not knowing what it's going to be made of. Is, you can tell a lot on a design by what
there
it's
any-
going to use.
Is there any way you could approve it with the statement that says that we meet at least that brick percentage? Which we'll bump that over that, and then we would present that to staff before any further permits and so on could be applied for.
Mr. Smith, it's just really hard because we've had a lot of discussion over the past year or so about elevations and how they've looked and been presented, and then they've changed, and so it's hard just to review without exactly
Sure.
knowing what you're going to get.
I'm also concerned with the elevations we have, because we don't know where the HVAC is going to be. Is that going to change? Because again, we're going to request that it not be seen from the road, period. And that's going to change that elevation some, I believe, depending on where it's at.
Okay. Now making notes for the architect so he can include those items.
I guess the next question is, what's the safer route for the city to approve it on a contingency, or to say, we need you to come back with these changes? Because again, we don't want something to slip through, not that you're intentionally going to do so, however, mistakes get made, things slip through. City planner, what's your position?
Question. I'm not a fan of contingencies, but I think that, Most of the comments are fairly minor. I think that if you did want to approve contingent upon, I certainly could ensure that the, the percent materials are met or exceeded, they take care of the landscaping in front of the pond. Really, it's up to you, because when it comes to design, you won't have say what that design is, because it won't be coming back before you. It'll just come to staff for that final approval. So, if you're really concerned about things like AC units or the overall look and feel of the building based on the materials, then you might want to consider asking them to bring it back with those, those specifics shown.
I think this overall gives us a good idea by the picture, but without having it, it's just hard to, I'm saying this more for you. It looks like your intent is to build if I had something smaller, it might be better. No, I like the big ones, I'm joking. I just feel like it's my blanket right now. Anyway, I think it looks like it's gonna be a nice product. It's just not having that in writing, I'm leery of. And, it appears from your rendering that it's gonna be brick and stone and probably some type of, I would guess. Oh, yep, ethos, thank you.
Yeah, looking at it, probably the main thing that's going to change is they're going to put more brick on the back of the building where it's just concrete block, which that's not really allowed. I think that'll have to change the split face anyways. But as far as the AC units, if they go on the roof, it doesn't look like these parapets are tall enough to hide the units from the street or from the parking lot. So that's kind of the big thing, and as you could tell, we've run into that a few times.
Okay.
Where the screening of that we're taking very serious, so staff could check for a parapet. Like I said, I think that they're gonna get their brick 70% by bricking something in the back, if not the whole back wall. I don't think the front will change too much. But
What's your hopes to be, have it built and,
This summer. Yeah, once we get these worked out, they want to start construction.
Any additional questions, or anyone want to make a motion? And to confirm, we won't see a set of construction documents. We won't have another discussion to be able to talk about the facade and then. Any additional questions, or anyone in?
I was just asking who was gonna create the list, and then, do we get to see the list until it's, reviewed?
For if it was to be granted,
Back to us?
yes, sir.
We wouldn't want him to come back next month and have another list.
Absolutely.
Or something, left off the list, so to me, it's really important that he gets an accurate list to know what to correct and, know that that's it.
Yes, sir. So you could make a motion for approval, and then based off a list, or a motion for deferment, or a motion disapproval based off a list, but we could list those items with our motion to break down exactly the details that we want to
I
see.
think that's important. That way he you don't wanna come back next month and he forgot
Start
the
over.
screening for the air conditioner or not enough shrubbery around the
Well-
drainage system.
I can make, I don't mean to interrupt, sorry about
No,
that. What if you approve the site plan and put a contingency that all the architectural elevations need to come back next month? That would be that would be great for us, because they could start getting pricing on doing the site work, and the building could be kind of held off on getting bids until following next month. And that's, the architect would have to make sure he meets all your, he's the sign, he did the sign. He'd either make sure the parapets are tall enough, or we do remote condensers that are screened someplace else.
Do a two-part permit where it just gets grubbing and clearing, and then by the time he gets all that done, no structural work started.
I think that would be based on our staff. I don't think you'd be able to get that, but does the staff have any feedback or recommendation? Would that be an appropriate measure to bring back the plans?
What's the extra work?
You'll have the tree board before that, so I can have the issue with the,
Sure. And that would be the site, on the site plan.
Typically, just because we do have so many new faces, when the engineer gives us this list, I mean, a lot of times we do make a motion on the list that's provided. But in this case, there's a couple of things that were, that would have helped with, vision, the design of it all. So I don't know if that helps or answers any question. It's really going to be what you want to see.
Can I say something? If
Yeah.
we could get approval on the site work and not necessarily the architectural, that allows us to still make contact with TDOT. They would want to see that at least the site portion has been approved. We may or may not need to get a driveway permit, but that will always follow your approval on the site work. And you could make it a contingency or something that we would bring back the architectural elevations and issues regarding the air conditioning, that units and so on.
And then there's a few notes for the site plan as far as the landscaping around, the riprap apron, the parking calculations. Do we want to assume that there's only two? So we would probably need to discuss those items too as well, or we could say include all these notes.
Well, on the parking, is there any way, that third building is really not a part of this project? It could be 5, 10 years off before we come back.
I think that that would be based on, if it's from a staff recommendation, because that would be our regulations that they've gave feedback back to us. That would be required by our regulations, and so I think that would be, if we can get a direction from them.
Probably show a shaded area, that shows, future parking for initial development phase. Without knowing what that tenant is gonna be, we can't really determine what the parking calculation is going to be either. So, based on the two that they proposed, one had 10 spaces, one had 15. So it's a safe bet to say that whatever goes into that third spot will probably fall somewhere in that same, in that 10, 15 range. Might want to just shade out the remainder of that area, because I think you're going to need probably all of it to get parking.
Any additional questions, or would anyone like to make a motion?
The more we talk, the harder it is to decide what to do. I just think we confuse the matter.
Since we're going back and forth and it seems to be more of a burden on us to just approve this contingent, I'll make a motion that we just defer this site plan and architectural until everything's addressed and we get to approve it as it needs to be.
Can you clarify what those are, just for his record?
It's all the staff review notes that I've read. We could,
Can we get an email of those?
I'm sure the staff has these, if they haven't already given them to you.
If not.
And then, in addition, would be the additional planting in front of the detention pond.
HVAC placement?
Yeah, the HVAC placement, and then, of course, this is reflected on the comments, but, yeah, further detail on the building and the material percentages.
As well as shading in for the additional potential future parking.
I'm sorry?
The last one was the HVAC placement.
Yeah, the HVAC location and the placement and how that's going to be screened.
In that statement, you're saying that you want it not visible from the road, or not visible from the parking, or not visible at all?
It shouldn't be visible at all. It is in our design review manual. It states that any HVAC should be not seen or fully screened, so.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Item 8.2, discuss and or take action on final plat submittal for Cumberland Estates, Phase 1, 52 lots, map 47, parcel 66.04, 52.56 acres, Cumberland Estates LLC owner. We have a representative here tonight. Hello.
Best I can. My engineer didn't show up, so.
Could you state your name, please, sir?
Jason Beavers with Old South Properties.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bianna, could you read any staff comments that we have?
Yes, there are 6 staff comments for item 8.2. Number 1, final covenants and restrictions and bylaws for association documents must be submitted for review and approval with the final plat and with the final plat recorded prior to the signing of the final plat. That makes sense, yeah. Number 2, please note that as-built plans as required by the City of Fairview must be reviewed and approved prior to the issuance or any certificates of occupancy of any reduction in bond amounts is considered. Number 3, correct Surveyor's Note 9 to state correct total number of lots of 51. Number 4, correct wastewater treatment lot number to 51. Number 5, correct wastewater treatment lot total acreage on sheets 2, 3, and 4 in order to match sheet 1 that states 16.70 acres. Number 6, appropriate easements, i.e. ingress, egress, and utilities should be provided along the path of the force main that extends beyond the platted public right-of-way to the treatment area. That's all the comments.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beavers, I don't know if you had a chance to, if you received these yet, if you have any discussion on any of those notes.
We had received them. I'm hoping that the engineer made the corrections on the plat, and our attorney is drawing up the documents right now for the HOA, so
Okay.
all that's in the works.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
Well, I mean, I think some of us are at a disadvantage because we were not here when the beginning, and it's hard to read the, read everything. So, but as far as, I guess, the recommendation, those are the only only thing the engineer saw as far as,
They didn't match the previously approved plans that we had at the office, so everything you see here doesn't match what was previously approved by the.
okay.
I'll make a motion we approve contingent on the engineer comments for 8.2, items 1 through 6.
Second.
We had a first and a second. Any additional discussion? I did just want to say one thing, just about trying to keep the site a little clean. There was sometimes that the Western Wood site out there kind of looked a little rough. So if you can just try and keep that site.
I had that
clean.
conversation with the building guys
Okay, thank you,
probably
sir.
2 weeks ago, so.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Beavers.
Thanks for not stumping me. Thanks.
All right, we'll move to item 8.3, discuss and or take action for site plan for industrial warehouse facility located on Juniper Road, Lot 4 of Evergreen Industrial Park, map 18, parcel 47.06, owners Tentex LLC. Mr. Easons, if you could just give us a.
Sure. I'm Tony Reeves, I'm a land surveyor and engineer. This is my site plan, and what we have is a industrial facility in Evergreen Industrial Park. It is located on Juniper Road, and it is a one-story building, parking in the front. We have a retaining wall in the front. The detention basin is located in the back of the property. Of course, I understand, I've got a note on there too that refers to requesting variance for above-ground detention basin. Got a drive around the building, which I understand it's required by fire code, a retaining wall in the back, and a truck dock access on the side of the building. Those are the basics.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beata, if you could read the staff comments.
Yes, there are 6 comments on this project. Number 1, additional details should be provided on the proposed transitional screen. For the fence, please provide a detail or note specifying the type of fencing to be used. For the landscaping screen, please indicate the type, size, and planting pattern for the proposed continuous evergreen plant materials. The minimum required planting pattern is 10-foot centers with a minimum of a 3-foot offset. All plant materials must be on the city's approved plant list. Number 2, provide architectural elevations for the proposed building. Building elevations must meet the standards found in Section 2-104 of the Design Review Manual. Number 3, perimeter landscaping for side lot lines is required. Please provide perimeter landscaping that complies with Section 2-105.3 of the Design Review Manual. This includes trees at 35-foot centers, an equivalent shrub density of 1 shrub per 7 lineal feet of buffer area, and piped irrigation. Number 4, the proposed understory trees along the streetscape are to have a minimum 3-inch caliper at time of planting. Additionally, all proposed evergreen trees shall be a minimum of 5 foot tall at time of planting. Number 5, please submit drainage calculations for all proposed stormwater infrastructure components. Number 6, retaining wall design and details are to be submitted to the city when building plans are submitted for a building permit. Retaining wall plans must be stamped by a licensed engineer in the state of Tennessee. No building permit will be issued until such plans are submitted and approved by the city. Those are all the comments on this item.
Thank you, sir.
Ready? I still think we have a lot of things back, like the other one, that just aren't answered. And so I think we're in the same situation where we don't really know what we're voting on.
Trying to think of what to say. So when this originally came to the staff review meeting last month, it had two lot sections, a little bit different.
Correct, yes.
A few changes, and so it made some adjustments based off the initial comments, and now these were new, off of the new revised. And so it's almost like we need a little bit of time to review that to get it changed again, so when it presents to us and comes to us, it's ready, it meets our requirements. And so then we can get a list of these are the variances I'm requesting change on, or things like that. But I agree, it's, you feel like you're missing a lot of things, and
I'm here with the owner tonight. If there's a concern about the architectural elevations, you could probably, if you have any specific questions. I know obviously, the city staff will review those, and they'll have to be in accordance with the current regulations. So if that would maybe help to, the other things, the landscaping items, I think, which is probably the bulk of the comments, we will obviously agree to those and abide by those, so make those corrections.
I think to be equal and fair in how we treated 8.1, I move for a motion to defer this so we could actually see architectural elevation, and I don't know if this will be able to get in front of the tree board before it comes back to us again, but I think obviously the main one, in my opinion, is the lack of any architectural rendering. So I make a motion to defer this item.
motion, is there a second? Thanks, sir. Just an additional comment, I know there's a tree inventory sheet on here where you're calculating your trees, but I'm fairly certain there was a lot more trees there. And they were cleared without a permit, is that correct?
There was some clearing in the area of the building. There is a significant amount of trees in the lower left-hand corner of the lot. I guess where I've got title Lot 4, there's a dense area of woods there.
When you review on the GIS mapping system, it looks like there was quite a bit of trees there.
Yeah, it was a heavily wooded lot.
And so just one recommendation is if you come back, maybe that landscape buffer be a little more intensive than would just be the standard. Because now it's been cleared back and you can see all those houses back there completely and things. And so we want to try and help those homeowners back there have some kind of buffer from this new big building that's going to go in.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Well, first off, this is 6.25 acres, and no trees were disturbed from behind the building, where the building's at, from where the building retaining wall is, all the way back where all this retainage and stuff,
It's just hard for us to know when all we're looking at is the GIS map, when our commercial standards and design review manual requires a tree density worksheet to calculate, to show the trees over a certain caliper size on your property prior to clearing before a project. And so now it's unknown how many trees are there, and we can only take your word on it. It's hard to know exactly.
Okay.
Part of that is because that inventory would show what would have to be paid into the tree bank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well,
I
or
have
you
another
can
building.
replace.
I have another building. I mean, my problem is I've been here since 2004. I did an extension in 2007. Every lot across the street, all those guys just came in and bulldozed completely. No trees, zero. They cleaned it. All I did, and I'm sorry, I didn't know, but just put the place where my building was going to be, and the concrete. So, I mean, compared to what all these other guys did, even including my neighbor who just did it, I mean, I still got 6.5 acres basically. So that's all I was trying to get across.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Hopefully starting to hold people accountable will help prevent that in the future.
Right.
And so now we can start going by the book and we can do it the correct way.
Right. Okay.
And I just, you'll know when you come back, are you going to ask Mr. Burks for the same landscaping around the detention pond, or with it being in the wooded area?
I was considering that. The problem is, I can't really tell from this plan, is it screened by trees or not?
Well, yes, and
Doesn't
if,
show me.
yeah, and if you do, it's, well, we'll show, I'll try to get him to do that, screened by trees, but not only that, if you look at the different elevation, you can't even see that area. You know, it's clear down here at 734 versus we're up here at, 768, so when you're at the deal, you can't even see down in that, especially once we bring the retaining wall up and everything's gonna be at the 764 level.
And this is a little bit different, because we're really looking at warehousing versus retail.
Right.
And this is actually behind the building in this situation, but the problem then becomes, on the other side, the houses that back up to this, are they now looking at it? From this, I can't tell. That's the problem. I'd be guessing. So I need to see what's around that, and I guess I would ask when it goes to the tree board, that they approve the landscaping that's around it, whether that's the natural occurring trees, or if they need to make a recommendation on something else that needs to go around it.
Well, and that's what I'm just trying to give you is a little guidance for when you come back. Just know that that's obviously now a concern that we have. But if it can't be seen, that might be a different issue, but you might want to word it on the plan and give it a better description.
Would it be better if I provided photos?
Sure.
That'd be helpful,
Yeah,
but
Photos are always
obviously,
good.
Whatever visual aid you could give us, it makes our job a lot easier up here.
Okay.
So that would be
Sure.
good.
Any additional discussion? We have a motion for deferral and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to item 8.4, discuss and or take action on rezoning request for 7309 Cox Pike, .89 acres, owner Joseph Morris, and 7307 Cox Pike, 1.41 acres, owner Tiffany Forshee, from RS 40 to R20. Good evening. You guys could just state your name for me.
I am Timothy Morris. I'm standing in for my father, the property owner, and I've got a letter giving me approval to do that.
Thank you, sir.
And Tiffany Forshee.
Thank you. Mr. Viola, do we have any staff comments there?
One moment. Yes, we have one comment on this item. Number one, per the information provided in the application, the owner's desire to re-subdivide the subject parcels such that one additional lot is to be created. The resulting intention is to have the two existing lots and the proposed newly created lot be in compliance with all bulk regulations, i.e. minimum lot size, 20,000 square feet, minimum lot width at the front building line, 100 feet, and minimum lot frontage on a public right-of-way, 50 feet. Please note that the rezoning of these parcels does not approve the stated re-subdivision intention. If rezoning is successful, a minor final plat must then be submitted and approved by the city to accomplish the creation of the proposed new lot. That's the only
Thank you, sir.
item.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a first and a second. Discussion?
Do you understand the staff comment about needing to come back in?
Yes, you want a final plat?
Yes, sir.
We've done a preliminary plat already.
Okay.
Chap Delane?
Yes, sir.
Randy?
Yes, sir.
And I think you might have a copy of that.
Yeah.
And we were going to do a hard survey between the first and second reading to finalize that, but the fact that Randy has put his stamp of approval on the plat, I think speaks for itself, he's pretty comfortable with that. And I think we got a copy, there's a copy of a letter from the city engineer from Franklin saying this would not violate the land use plan, and he signed off on, he gave 3 points why he's okay with this. One of them was it did comply with the land use plan. And also that we're just adding one additional home. And that I have a rendering of one of the homes. We haven't purchased both permits yet, our blueprints, but I have a rendering of the quality of home we're gonna put on these lots, and I'd like to hand those to you, and along with this copy of the letter from my father. If you want, I can give it to you now. But it just shows you our workmanship.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Have you built this house somewhere else in Fairview?
No.
No, this will be the first.
We might close in the carport. That would be the only adjustment, just to add square footage. The home would be, have generous hardwood floors, stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, and the square footage would be considerably, it's still a small house, 1,700 square feet, but it would be considerably more, judging by the looks of the houses around there, like I'm thinking they're 1,200 to 1,300. And we have done extensive work in making sure that in this involves a land swap with a cash settlement to settle the imbalance in the swap, because we're going to end up with a net increase in property. But in the process of that, Randy and together with Mr. Hall and myself have made sure that we have complied with the 20,000 square foot ordinance, also the 100-foot across the width of the front elevation ordinance, and finally that we're going to leave Ms. Forshey with at least 50 feet of road frontage. And she will have a remaining 1.34 acres.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? We have a motion for approval and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very well. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, that completes our new business. We'll go into item 9, reports for discussion information. 9.1, Director of Planning and Codes. Or City Planner.
Yeah, we need to change it.
I'd just like to welcome the new members and appreciate those hard work.
Ms. Costanza, you have anything tonight?
I don't have anything.
Welcome.
Thank you, I'm glad to be here. It's an honor and privilege to work with you, and I'm looking forward to it. And congrats to the new members on your positions.
Thank you. Item 9.2, City Engineer. Mr. Chastain, you have anything? Thank you, sir. 9.3, City Attorney, Mr. Potter.
Reiterate what I said last month, this is my second planning commission meeting, and there's some members that were not here last month, and there's anything, call me.
Thank you, sir. 9.4, City Manager. We'll go to item 10, Communication from the Planning Commission members. We'll start with you, Mr. Powers. Welcome, and Jim Powers.
I'm glad to be on the commission, and I really don't, I probably won't say nothing. I know Patty probably won't believe that. I won't say,
Can't believe
I
it.
won't say nothing for a little bit. I won't sort of watch and learn, and if I do have any questions, I will ask them, but watch and learn for a minute.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mitchell.
I want to welcome the new members to the board. Glad to have you here. New city planner, welcome. And That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Anderson, Mike Anderson, welcome.
First, I'll say I'm glad to be here. Appreciate y'all letting me join this board. I have a lot of simple questions, and I don't understand the process here, how the people that desire to do construction or development, who they meet with, who gives them the guidelines, so that when they do come to us, we don't have to defer. As a builder in my past, 30 days is a lot of money. And I don't want to think for him, I want to think for Fairview, but I would think that there should be a better way, or a way to give these people the guidelines they need. They're going to give you what you ask for, or they're going to go to another county and do the work, one way or the other. So I think if they get it up front, they'll put it in the owner plans and specs, and it should be easy for us. So I need to meet with the people. If somebody could help me get that set up and understand that process.
And just to defend the staff a little, those two projects in particular came in and had a lot of adjustments from the initial submittal. So they submitted to our staff reviewed, gave them notes, they made the changes to those notes, and the new submittals had to be reviewed again. And so then it came to us, and that's why it had a few adjustments. They had some substantial changes, but.
There's always, in the building, there's people that really don't listen to what you say when you tell them, and don't quite get it correct, and that takes time. I understand that.
Sir. All? Thank you, sir. Ms. Slaughter, Chrissy Slaughter.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of the Planning Commission and the future of Fairview.
Thank you. Mr. Mangrum?
I also would like to welcome the new planning commission members, welcome our new city planner. You've got your work cut out for you. And that's all I have.
Mr. Burks?
Again, welcome to the new members. It's a real steep learning curve. I'm still on that curve. I'm still learning. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The staff is amazing to work with. You can contact them if you have questions. If you need any resources, let us know. We'll see what we can find for you. We want to make your job as easy as possible in a difficult job. It's not easy by any means. So thank you for stepping up and volunteering. We really appreciate it. Your city appreciates it. Thank you.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes, of course, I'm going to say the same thing. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you. We will try to work with you getting what you need. Some of this is just, we are in the process of trying to get things cleaned up where it is very clear for the builders. And, you know, Will, our engineer, has been working on trying to make things read easy and connect between the design review and our codes. And so that process is going, it's happening. I think that's some of our problems, where there has been a lot of times the developer, you know, of course they're going to do sometimes as little as possible, but just letting them know our standards is high. You know, we got a high standards, and this is what's required, and make it easier on them and easier on us. Because I feel horrible turning, you know, these people away, knowing that they've already spent. But a rule is a rule, and if we're going to start going by it, then, you know, making everybody present properly the first round, then, you know, it's just what has to be done. And, you know, it starts with us. And as we all know, and y'all talked about, is when at the Board of Commissioners meeting and why you were interested in running, that we know there's a lot of work to do, and a lot of development is going to come our way. So the quicker we can get things right and on the same page, the better off we're going to be. So welcome. We're here. If you need anything, staff, contact them, and maybe we can set up a time where the new members can just sit down maybe with somebody from the office and review procedures, and just, you know, help guide through the codes book. And I guess they already received their books for our, it's online if you haven't got a hard copy. So But anyway, with that being said, welcome.
Mr. Halls has something.
So,
If y'all don't mind, I have a suggestion, but the attorney will have to answer it. If it's in the past, we've only allowed one planning commissioner to attend the staff meeting. Do you take the opinion that if we allowed the 3 new people to attend the staff meeting so they could understand what goes on in staff, that would be violating the open meeting law?
By the city, if you're there, so before a training session. Pending before the city or what might come before the city.
Okay. We classify it as a training session next month, next week?
so it'll be Tuesday next
9:30
week at
Tuesday.
9 a.m., is that correct?
9:30 a.m. If
9:30
they
a.m.
want to attend, then you'll see where it starts at. Once it comes to us, that's where it starts at with the staff review. And that way you have the city engineer here, you have the planner and myself will both be here. You have Micah Sullivan sits in, we have our fire marshal sit in, the water authority person sits in, the police chief sits in, so there's a lot, and the city arborist also. So you have all of that in staff to answer these questions that they may come in with their project. And then the engineer will resubmit his findings or his review submittals, and that's what they bring back to us. Where these slipped up, I don't have any idea, so.
That's,
Well, okay, go ahead.
that's next Tuesday at 9:30 here.
9:30 here, and we usually have it in this room because some of those plans, as you well can see, takes up a big table, so. But you're invited to that. And Brandon's usually here, he can sort of guide you through it also, so.
Well, for the record, they wouldn't be able to interact. They would just have to be here to view.
Listen and be
So,
trained.
yes. Let's just make that real clear.
Mr. Beata?
Well, again, I'd like to welcome all the new faces. Look forward to working with you all. I do agree with Mr. Anderson. It's always tough to, being a builder and developer, it's hard to defer projects because I've been on both sides of it, but I do want to defend the process and going through it exactly. We have a staff review meeting. Will gives many comments after that. Should have ample time to answer them, and a lot of times we do approve things contingent upon. However, both of these deferrals were retail or industrial buildings. In the past, we have allowed something on contingent or without fully seeing the finished plans, and that's why we're a lot more hesitant on doing so. In the great scheme of things, for a builder, 30 days is a lot, but for our city, these buildings will be there for the rest of our lives. So 30 days over 50 years to get it right, we only have one chance. So again, I just I guess the board, we don't want to have the perception that we're up here just to turn people down, but we just want to get it right. So, but I think knowing the process, that's what I feel more comfortable deferring, because I know they shouldn't have really even come up without having the architectural being what it is. So, but I just wanted to say that, and thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Well said. I'll say the same thing. Welcome to you guys. Excited to have you. It's a busy time, and I'm glad you guys are serving.
If I can make one more comment.
Sir.
I'm excited about Fairview and its future. That's why I moved out here. And as an old man, I wanted to retire in a nice place, and that's what we've done. So with the city taking the hard stance to get it right instead of doing it, I don't know how you were doing it in the past, but any other way, I think it's a great thing. And you're going to have a big city here, whether you want it or not, and because the people are coming out of Nashville just like I did. And so I think if you get it going right now, it will be much to everybody's benefit in the future.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.